The cameras click, the flashbulbs pop, and once again the House of Windsor finds itself juggling loyalty and reputation in full public view. Welcome back, friends. If royal intrigue keeps you on the edge of your seat, you're in the right place. Tonight we're unpacking the latest twist in the long-running saga of Prince Andrew, Duke of York. His official role vanished 3 years ago, yet a fresh court circular entry suggests the palace hasn't cut him loose completely. Is this a quiet compromise? A family olive branch? Or the start of something no one quite dares name out loud? Before we dive into the corridors of Buckingham Palace, a quick favor: tap that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell so every whisper from the royal grapevine lands straight in your feed. Your support keeps us digging for the details that hide between the lines of official statements. Now, let's step into the story. Ever since late 2019, when allegations and disastrous interviews sent Prince Andrew behind closed doors, the phrase "stepping back" has felt more permanent than temporary. Appearances were cancelled, patronages returned, uniforms set aside. Fast forward to December 2024, and even the family's Sandringham Christmas, a near-sacred fixture on the Windsor calendar, reportedly went ahead without him. For royal watchers, that uninvitation sounded less like a snub and more like a door slamming shut. Then came Easter 2025. In a move no one saw coming, Andrew strode into the public church service shoulder to shoulder with senior royals. It lasted mere minutes, but the optics were powerful and polarizing. Was the palace testing the waters? Or had the king simply granted a brotherly concession? Whatever the intention, backlash arrived faster than the hymns concluded. Editorials fumed, social media erupted, and within days the palace slipped back into radio silence. For months the Duke of York's name vanished from the headlines, until this week. The spark? An unassuming line in the court circular, that dry, daily log of royal engagements beloved by archivists and obsessives alike. Monday's entry recorded a private luncheon at Windsor Castle for the companions of the Order of the Garter, hosted by the King and Queen. The guest list read like a roll call of heavy hitters: the Prince of Wales, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, the Princess Royal, the Gloucesters, the Duke of Kent, and nestled right after William, before Edward and Anne, the Duke of York. A single sentence, yet brimming with subtext. First, it confirms Andrew was not merely on the estate, but seated at the king's own table. Second, and this is where protocol hawks lean forward, the order of names matters. Placement traditionally mirrors precedents. So why position a non-working royal fresh from scandal immediately after the heir and ahead of stalwart senior cousins? Is it deference to birth order? An olive branch? Or a deliberate signal that blood still outranks PR? To understand the ripples, we need to rewind. The Order of the Garter, founded in 1348, stands at the summit of British chivalry. Its annual June service is pageantry personified: velvet mantles, ostrich-plumed hats, a procession through the sunlit grounds of Windsor. But this year Andrew was nowhere to be seen on the public route. No cameras, no crowds, just whispers that he'd been ushered behind castle walls before the first trumpet sounded. In other words, invisible outside, present inside. Enter the rumor mill. Within hours of the court circular upload, a tabloid splash claimed a secret deal exists between King Charles III and his younger brother, private inclusion in exchange for permanent public exile. Neither side gets everything it wants, but both avoid a meltdown. The king sidesteps the optics of a family schism, Andrew clings to a sliver of status within palace walls. Sounds tidy on paper, until you factor in the future king. Sources close to Prince William suggest he's less than thrilled. For a man who will one day inherit the crown, and the task of modernizing it, brand management is not theoretical. He's painfully aware that each fresh glimpse of Andrew risks reopening wounds the monarchy can ill afford. From William's perspective, partial reintegration may look like a ticking PR time bomb, especially among younger constituents already skeptical about hereditary privilege. Layer on government anxieties. The alleged brush with a Chinese spy network still raises whispers of national security risk, and you begin to see why the king's patience reportedly wears thin. Charles's vision of a slimmed-down monarchy doesn't leave room for extended crisis control. Yet total exile of a sibling is easier said than done when duty collides with family. So how does the court circular lunch fit into this chessboard? Think of it as a nod to two audiences at once. Internally, it reassures loyalists that Andrew remains a part of the private family fabric: son, brother, uncle, Knight of the Garter. Externally, the palace can still claim he has no public-facing role. Technically true, though some will call it hair-splitting. Critics are unconvinced. They argue that presence, even unseen, equals influence. If the Duke of York mingles with knights and ladies of Britain's oldest order, how long before another Easter-style walkabout slips through? And does a single misstep undo months of carefully restored credibility? Supporters counter that total banishment serves no purpose. The man will never return to frontline duty, they admit, but stripping him of every tradition risks looking cruel and invites yet more headlines about royal rifts. Better, they say, to keep him close, contained and largely silent. Meanwhile, the king's compromise, assuming that's what this is, faces a ticking clock. Charles will soon need to codify the royal roster for upcoming state visits, jubilees, and a possible Commonwealth tour. Each invitation list will force the question anew: does Andrew remain in the Windsor drawing room, or wait in the wings of Royal Lodge? At some point private and public will collide. There's also the practical matter of precedence. In ceremonies governed by centuries-old order of seniority, the Duke of York traditionally ranks near the top. Shuffling him down the queue requires an Act of Parliament, or an unprecedented rewriting of etiquette. Neither is simple. Thus the palace may find itself trapped between optics and order, obliged to honor birthright at tables far from camera flash, even if the court of public opinion objects. Then there's the financial angle. Reports persist that Andrew can no longer afford the upkeep of Royal Lodge without substantial help. The king's contract, so the whispers go, may include discreet funding for security and maintenance in exchange for his brother's low profile. If correct, that turns the Garter luncheon into a periodic welfare check, evidence the bargain holds. Which leaves the family itself. Behind gilt doors, personal affection collides with institutional survival. Charles was once the overlooked younger brother, now he weighs that empathy against the health of the crown. William, protective of Brand Windsor, sees danger where his father sees duty. Prince Edward and Princess Anne, forever workhorses, might bristle at a brother free to lunch at Windsor while they cut ribbons in the rain. And the public? They are left decoding court circular breadcrumbs, wondering who sets the moral compass when tradition meets modern scrutiny. So where does this leave the Duke of York? For now, in a twilight zone, visible in print, invisible on screen, present yet peripheral. His days of shaking hands on palace forecourts appear over, but his place at certain family tables endures. Whether that equilibrium can hold is the next chapter. And that's where you come in. Is the king right to fold Andrew into private ceremonies while barring him from the spotlight? Should birth position ever outweigh reputational damage? Or does compassionate inclusion risk undermining the modern monarchy's hard-won credibility? Scroll down, share your thoughts, and let's keep this conversation going, respectfully, of course. If tonight's deep dive shed light on a story you've been curious about, hit like so more royal enthusiasts can join the discussion. Subscribe for analysis that cuts through palace spin, and ring the bell so you never miss a moment in Britain's unfolding royal drama. Until next time, stay curious, stay civil, and keep watching The Crown, both its glitter and its shadows.